That Brownlow lady is hanging out with us in studio. What up, Lauren?
Hi.
You ready to do some premature evaluations?
Sure.
I feel like you were thrown off by the ask.
What? Well, just, the word choices. It's fine. I'm good. I'm good now.
Sometimes you get to a certain age, things have to be quick.
Got my... See, just when I get my maturity back.
When did you ever have it?
I don't. That's a good question.
All right.
I can fake it.
Let's go ahead and start with, I think, the marquee game of the week, the difference maker, Miami visiting North Carolina in Chapel Hill at night. There's a long history of the Hurricanes having some October horror stories against the Tar Heels.
This game is always hilarious. Looking back on it, I did a column for the Messenger this week, and I changed my column topic like 6 times over the weekend, I feel like. But basically, as Louisville was winning, I'm like, I have to write about that. Was going to write about Miami UNC before that because obviously, 2 undefeateds, showdown, big deal.
Right.
Then as Miami was starting to lose the way it was losing, I then had to scrap the Louisville column I was writing, and I was like, okay, Miami's doing Miami stuff again because it was so frustrating to watch. I'm not one of those people that gets easily suckered in on Miami. And I still had my doubts. I did. I was still listen, I know they have given us no reason to think that they would screw up, but except for the rest of history, right?
No, Miami found, and Joe knows this, Miami found a new way to surprise me because the week before that loss to Georgia Tech and the way that it happened, and I don't care what Al Riveron said. I don't care if there's a debate as to whether or not the fumble was indisputable, blah, 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 blah.
Y'all are embarrassing yourselves with that. I'm sorry. Apologies.
You got the octolateral. Take it. This was the karma for the octolateral. So stop it when it comes to that. But what I said last week about Miami was, man, this is a really weird season where the Hurricanes actually look low-key pretty good.
They are under the radar.
And not a soul was talking about them.
That's the thing.
And they found a way to put themselves on the radar in the most Miami way possible. Congratulations.
They just couldn't take it anymore. They're like, please pay attention to us.
Which, by the way, I know somebody had sent me some clips from the Le Batard show saying this is the worst loss in Miami history. No, it's not.
No.
FIU.
No,
FIU was bad.
No, the Ohio State championship, I would argue, because
that worst loss?
That was robbed from them.
Okay,
that was
okay.
absolutely stolen from them.
I'm talking about the FIU
We're talking
low
about
point.
embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
Oh yeah, different.
That's
different.
a low point at the Orange Bowl.
And
with the
everyone
fight,
was
all
watching that too.
Yeah,
so
man.
Yeah. Oh, I was like, which FIU one? Or was it? What was the team that beat them with their old kicker recently? That was FIU, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was the case.
with their old kicker who throat slashed them, hitting the game winner at home against them. This is what I'm saying. When Miami loses, they don't just lose. They get embarrassed in public. And this is so bad. And that's the thing, is they gave us no indication this was coming. So you couldn't even look at the Georgia Tech game and go, this is a real danger spot for Miami here. Mm-hmm. You couldn't. They took care. They've been beating everyone by double digits, including A&M at home. They have not looked pedestrian. They were 3rd in the country in yards per play entering the game last week. And they moved the ball on offense. They just kept turning it over. So that really wasn't the issue. But it's just why are you like this, Miami? Why? Why are you this way? Why do you do this all the time? Why have you been absolute trash, essentially, comparatively speaking, since joining the ACC? Mm-hmm. They should have kept the receipt, honestly.
It's too late now.
Is there a warranty? What's the warranty?
We're past the 90 days.
To be fair, they should have exchanged when some of this started happening. I don't know, circa 2007 or so.
This is a perfect gambling game. Because
I wouldn't go near this though.
But I'm saying this is a perfect gambling spot.
Okay.
In this sense.
Okay.
Carolina just looked awesome against Syracuse.
Good Lord,
they
right?
looked great, right?
It was unreal.
At home, Drake May slinging that thing around. We finally have Jerry Rice Part 2 on the field. My gosh, the fully formed Voltron's coming.
Yeah.
Right? Miami loses in the dumbest single possible way.
You're right. I agree with you.
Not only taking a knee, the
second freaking play,
but the guy running free.
I know.
It was are you Chuckamottoing this thing right now? Are you playing press coverage on 3rd and 24? What are you doing?
You people.
Why are you so wide open? So it was so now everyone's going to be like, oh, Carolina's hot. Miami's stupid.
You're 100% right.
And
yes.
the number that I'm looking at here is Miami's rushing offense.
Yep.
Miami leads the ACC, the number 1 team in the ACC in rushing.
Yep.
Number 13 in the country in running the football.
Yes.
And traditionally,
if they
the
can
way
do that in that
to
game,
beat Carolina
100%.
is to run the football on them. So this becomes the next test,
Yes,
right? Because
100%.
App State did run the ball. Minnesota, I did not. I thought Carolina responded in that game.
Yeah, they did.
Like, hey, Minnesota's going to come in here and just try to jam it down your throat.
And
Yeah.
they
And
responded.
they couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, I think
And here comes Miami. They're going to try to do the same thing in this football game.
that's the key.
That's the big test, I think. And now you have it the other way, right? Like, oh my God, you're so bad, Miami.
Well, plus, like,
and
let's be
Carolina,
real.
you're
That's the
so
thing.
great.
Exactly. Like, if they watch that football game, they'd have to be like, oh, okay.
So North Carolina's defense is 5th in scoring in the league, in scoring defense. They're 6th in total defense in the league. Most importantly, and this is something that David Hale of ESPN pointed out, they're getting off the field on 3rd down. That was something that
That's a big thing.
I referenced that
Huge.
last week and earlier in the week, honestly, when I talked about North Carolina's most complete game against Syracuse. And yes, Drake May and the offense is the easy talking point. No, it's the defense
both.
that's
No, it's
getting off
both.
the field.
Yeah.
Now, and I had some people in the YouTube comments act as though I'm saying that North Carolina's defense is this juggernaut. It's
Guys,
not.
no.
All it has to do is
Is
be
be
competent.
okay.
Just become competent defense.
Yeah, and at times they've been competent and sometimes even better than that.
So-
and that's all you can ask for.
Hale pointed this out on Threads. UNC is allowing 1.54 points per drive so far this season. That's their best rate after 5 games since 2012.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
been a while. I was going back through to see how often they've held everybody this season. I think below, like, I forget what it was,
Yeah.
below 6 yards of play. It's been a long time since they've done that.
He also pointed out that in terms of time of possession, North Carolina's defense is not being worn out. Again, this is part about
Exactly.
getting off the field.
Fewer plays, I think, helps them a little bit too in general with fewer plays this year.
UNC opponent time of possession was plus 501 in 2022. It's minus 412. And defensive snaps per game in 2022 was 76. And it's 66. And I know.
And there's more depth, I feel like, for them. That's
Yeah.
improved. I think they have more quality depth
Older.
of guys that they
Yes,
exactly that
older
they
up
trust.
front.
Yep.
Chiswick talked about it at his press availability this week, where he's like, yeah, you're trying to limit these guys on the field. So when they need to make a big play, they're
Exactly.
not gassed. And again, that was the thing that kind of was the issue for the Tar Heels going forward. But back to what Joe was saying. You don't, what's the line on this thing?
It's only 3.5,
Okay.
which
That's like a we don't know line,
home
right?
3. I was like,
Coastal Energy? Coastal making a comeback this week?
I mean, unless you could make the case that last week was essentially the Coastal's like grand finale where it like exploded into a supernova
Yeah, maybe.
of Coastal and just the pieces went flying everywhere
Maybe.
because it felt like that kind of.
Maybe that's the case. All right. Joe's got Duke notes, apparently.
I do.
State, Duke, 8 o'clock, big prime time. Both these games are at night. 7:30 for the UNC Miami game, 8 o'clock for the Duke NC State game. The blood feud between the Blue Devils and the Wolfpack. Again, this game comes back down to me to see how MJ Morris and this MJ Morris 2.0 does against Duke's defense, which has been excellent this year, and it's going to be a lot different
really
than what
good.
we saw at Marshall this past weekend.
At the risk of marginalizing Mike Elko and what he's done.
Oh boy,
here we go. I'm
No,
gonna sit back for this one.
I think there's only one way for Duke and Wake Forest to win football games.
Oh, okay. I got you.
The Jim Grove model.
Sure.
Don't beat, and David Cutcliffe.
Don't beat yourself.
Beat yourself.
100%.
Okay.
That's what ended Cutcliffe's tenure essentially is because they started beating themselves
Yes.
regularly.
So I went and I looked. Here's Duke in the don't beat yourself categories. Sacks allowed, they've only allowed 4
Wow.
this year.
That's pretty impressive.
Obviously, one of them was damaging.
Considering you
I
played
get
Notre
that.
Dame once too, like that's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
And Clemson,
Yeah.
by the way.
Woo!
I mean,
Dang, when you
okay.
put when you think about it that way,
their
yeah.
schedule's really, really hard. Turnover margin, they're +3. They're 30th in the country in turnover margin.
Okay,
Okay.
pretty good.
They're 10th in the country in fewest
Penalties. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't turn the ball over. Protect your quarterback. Don't commit penalties.
It's really that helps you a
The
lot.
only
Special
thing-
teams as well is the
I was
the
going to
fourth
say
one.
the only
Yep.
thing they don't have that Sam swanking out there, dropping it out on there on the field.
Right.
Swank banging those 50-yarders where you're like,
They can't even bang
who
25
the hell
yarders.
is
It
this
feels
guy?
like
Yeah,
Right.
their kicking
it's not
game
good.
is suspect.
They should do tryouts again. We all remember that, right?
That's a low point of Duke football.
I'm just
Lauren.
kidding.
So
I'm
the-
joking.
So those are the numbers, and
And
then
it
of
could
course
be worse. You could get a guy out of retirement like Clemson.
Retirement.
one of our themes though is be good at what you're good at.
Yeah.
Mike Elko is a really good defensive coach. And Duke right now, 18th in total defense. Again,
crazy.
playing against really good teams. 4th in scoring defense. So State has their work cut out for them.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game that I think comes down to Duke's defensive line, which is their strength.
Yep, and State's
against
O-line.
State's offensive line, which is not their strength. But I saw a lot more out of with Dylan McMahon back on the field against Marshall.
Yeah, I mean, I think. By the way, just so that y'all think that I don't advocate North Carolina schools playing each other out of conference, I was thrilled to see Carolina and Wake do it, and would love to see Duke and State do it. This game isn't played enough; it's insane.
Well, thanks to the new scheduling,
we're gonna have to see a new schedule again.
Well, that's true because of the
Yeah.
additions of SMU. Cal,
I mean, it's
Stanford.
they played once in 10 years or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
the pandemic scrambled everything, and they finally played. This is the first time they're playing in Durham since 13.
That was
bonkers.
That was 10 years
like,
ago. Yeah,
that was like that weird.
That was that
Devon
really gross
Edwards
game.
It was a
Doran's
gross
first
game.
year.
Yeah,
and that team will be honored at this game.
Oh,
this
really?
week. Yes. So hat tip
First
to the Blue Devils.
Yeah, it took me a hot second. I'm like, you don't mean State's team, and then I'm like,
no.
Yeah,
not that
Brandon Mitchell might come back. That's my guy.
No, that
that
Duke
one.
team was legit.
All right, let's get to the game that I'm only bringing this up because of something that I saw on social media. It's Louisville versus Pitt. Now Louisville
versus Pitt. Okay.
Now okay. So a couple things here.
All right.
And we referenced
Same premise as Miami and Carolina. One's running hot. One's in the tank.
Louisville is, to get back to the ACC tiebreakers from earlier in the week. Louisville is in position to.
This is a big game.
This is a huge game for them.
Wait a second.
Okay.
Pitt's the common opponent.
This is why I brought it up.
Yes.
For a couple of reasons, but this is one of the reasons why I brought it up because Pitt is a common opponent, and when we talk about ACC tiebreakers, this actually has value. Who would have thought? But it also gets to why Louisville was a preseason favorite in terms of Vegas odds versus what the media saw back in July at ACC kickoff, where nobody was really picking them to win the ACC. But in Vegas, they were like, yeah, man, this actually is a pretty good money team. And again, it all came back to the schedule.
Yes.
And Pitt is entering a really weird mode right now where they have a vase in the football facility.
I wrote a story on this for Uprock Sports.
Nice.
Since apparently my beat now is lowercase go ACC.
You know what? You were born for that beat, Lauren. But I'm putting it up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Somebody in the facilities shop had to create a pedestal, paint it Pitt blue and yellow,
which is a
The top,
really
yeah,
nice
lovely.
color
I
scheme.
love that color scheme.
It looks great.
And they got a blue vase that matches the base itself. And apparently it is a place in which players should put negative thoughts.
Oh, and put it in the vase.
Put it in the vase.
There's no lid on the vase. It looks vaguely like an urn without a lid to me as well.
It
Which
look-
I'm
no,
like,
no.
because I'm like, is that the metaphor? You
no.
put the thoughts in there and you set them on fire because
they-
they're supposed to be have been on fire
They
before.
literally
Never
went
mind.
to Home Goods and got the first thing that was of a blue
They hit
scheme.
up Steinmart and found that cute.
It's an apothecary.
No, I'm pretty convinced they went to freaking Home Goods or Target.
Stop it.
And they were like, yeah, that's close enough blue. All right, can we put that on a little pedestal?
It matches
Cool.
pretty well.
It matches
Somebody did a
pretty
great
damn well.
job. Yeah.
They did a really good job coloring that. But again, that's the current state of Pitt athletics
But
for
you
football.
know I love Narduzzi.
A negative thoughts face?
You know I love Narduzzi, though, because A,
Yeah.
he hates Matt Canada and he badmouths him at every turn. And B, he was like, oh, you sound like a State fan. Just go beat Clemson. No big deal.
He's so like not a coach in the way he acts in general. I
Yeah.
feel like he also is like a psycho on the sidelines regularly. He is an insane person.
He's going to take the Michigan State job, isn't he?
Are they putting stuff in
Probably.
there? Do you think? Do you think anyone is like
It
writing?
looked empty. When of the picture that I put up,
Do you
it
think
looks empty.
Phil Dracovic like changed his handwriting and was like, "Coach tried to move me to tight end, embarrassed me in public."
Huh, who could have written that one? I have no idea.
And it's from like Bill. Never mind, Murkovic. I don't know.
So this is the common opponent factors into the tiebreaker, right?
Yes.
Because I know you wrote all this stuff
And
down.
it would be super Pitt-ish to have looked like absolute trash and not have beaten an FBS
Is this-
team yet
is
and
this-
go, let's just go ahead and beat Louisville.
Is this Pitt super weapon? Is it going to activate this week?
I mean, I don't know that they have it anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
The crazy thing about Louisville is when you look at their schedule, which we did in the preseason.
Not great.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
we did. And then they opened up with Georgia Tech. And to be fair now, Georgia Tech did come back and did actually beat Miami.
Georgia Tech's led a number of good teams at the half.
Yeah.
And
they're not a bad. But when they struggled with Georgia Tech, I
Yeah.
kind of wrote off Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw them in person, I was kind of like, God, these guys aren't good. Like Jack Plummer is like he's just like a replacement level quarterback. Like
Right.
I'm not seeing it. And then all of a sudden, at home, what do I love to tell you? Everybody plays a Super Bowl.
Mhm.
They get home, they're at
Totally.
night. Jawar Jordan looked like,
Yeah.
looked like he was about to win the Heisman Trophy. Like he had a game.
He's been good all year, though. To be fair. He's been
and
really good.
They beat Notre Dame at their own game.
Totally.
But now, you start looking at this though. Pitt, they're 2 road games after Pitt and Miami. They could lose either one of those games. Don't get me wrong, but Duke. Then they get VT and Virginia at home.
Yeah.
Like, guys, if they could nut up this week, and if Riley Leonard isn't healthy and they don't play Duke, they don't play Riley Leonard.
I think Riley Leonard comes back at the end of the month.
I mean, October 20th. High ankle sprain is not, outside.
Oh, it's not? I thought you just come back after a week, though. So
It's
okay. He should be fine. He'll be back this week.
It does
He'll
for
be
Bryce
back.
Young. It
Right?
works for Bryce Young.
Sure.
It's fine.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
Their schedule is a dream.
Yeah, no,
A
it's amazing.
dream.
Yeah, it's actually unreal because I remember hearing that it was easy, and then like I remember looking at it in the offseason and going, "Oh gosh."
Oh, then you looked at it, you're like, no, State's good and Pitt's good.
And then the year starts, and you're like, "Wow!" So it's
No.
even easier than we thought. It's crazy.
All right, let's go wrap it up for premature evaluations. Lauren, we spared you. Didn't have to talk about the Panthers, although you snuck it in there at the end.
Well, I always have to. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't want anyone to forget that we all understand that we were lied to
Yeah.
and that we're not stupid.
Yeah.
Just in case there's any confusion, because
We-
there seems to be coming from the
Yes.
Panthers that they think we're all really stupid. We're not.
We talked to Kyle Bailey, FNZ, at the beginning of this podcast, and he's like, yeah, messaging has been a complete disaster. Complete
Absolutely.
disaster.
Okay. I'm glad we're all on the same page
No,
on
I
that,
think
at least.
we
Yeah.
are all on the same page.
I mean, like,
the same could not
Panthers
be
media collectively.
the same could not be said about the Panthers,
Obviously.
because Frank Reich's out here just self-owning himself
Oh my God. I just.
with the comments.
I never
he made
thought
about
I'd
David
want
Tepper.
someone to speak less than Matt Rule.
Oh, Frank! Hey, man, I've been on
Like,
this
I'd
from
rather
the jump.
have him coaching if I have to choose between the two, but I would much rather, my gosh.
If there's any lessons that I've learned from Joe is to promote your wins. And from the jump, I've said about Frank Reich in that he, while not the bumbling Matt Rule talking a mile a minute, will say
he says things that are completely nonsensical.
that make you go, what? Whoa! Why are you saying that out loud? I would not admit that right now. What are you doing?
Are we talking off the record?
Oh, crap! Oh, Joe Person's here. Damn it! Here I go again.
Yeah.
Those cameras are on?
All right, Lauren. We'll see you next Thursday.
All right.